your life work.
Painting and decorating is one of our most essential trades. It fills a basic need with very little chance of ever diminishing in importance. The constant demand for paint and varnish as a protection and decoration ensures that there will always be a need for this service. One of the big advantages of the trade is that it is not entirely dependent upon new buildings for its existence. Old buildings require frequent painting and redecorating, and this assures fairly steady employment for those engaged in this occupation. Nor are buildings alone the only demand for the painter's skill. Many structures of iron and steel owe their permanence to the paint which covers them. For if it were not for this protective covering, the might and strength of these giant frameworks would crumble away under the corrosive action of the weather. But a painter's work is more than spreading paint on a surface. Real painting must not only cover the area, it must protect and beautify it as well. This requires a thorough knowledge of the tools and materials as well as the nature of the surface to be covered. The painter's tools are few, but he must understand them thoroughly. There is a right brush for every job, and he must know its choice and understand its application. The spray gun, too, will find its place wherever large surfaces are to be covered, or, as in this case, in reaching nooks and crannies not readily accessible to a brush. And the blowtorch will also supplement his stock in trade, as well as putty and scraping knives when it comes to preparing old surfaces for refinishing. The painter must also have a thorough understanding of the materials with which he works. Various surfaces require different treatments, and the painter must know the right treatment for each job. This means understanding the characteristics of each material, such as paint, varnish, enamel, lacquer, and shellac, as well as coloring materials and stains of all kinds. In addition to his knowledge of tools and materials, the painter must understand the preparation of the surface to be finished. Sometimes this calls for a job of plastering. Cracks and other unsightly marks occurring in older houses must be repaired before proceeding with any final decoration. Woodwork to be painted requires particular attention. Wood is an absorbent material, and its pores must be sealed to prevent them from soaking up too much of the paint. This is done by applying a filler or primer coat to close the pores, after which the wood may receive the usual coat of paint without danger of raising the grain or having it show through. Painting, like almost any other trade, involves certain occupational hazards, but these can be greatly minimized, if not entirely eliminated, by the exercise of common sense. Most materials are inflammable, and care should be used accordingly. Then, too, the fumes from various chemicals in paints are injurious to the lungs, but this can always be overcome by proper ventilation, such as opening the top part of a window when working on the bottom. Paint contains lead oxide, but the danger of lead poisoning can be easily minimized by being careful to clean one's hands upon finishing work, and especially before eating. Not all painters care for diversified work, and accordingly, there has been a trend towards specialization in this field. In the past, a painter was required to do all kinds of work, but today, in the larger towns and cities, many painters prefer to concentrate on one type of work, as, for example, the painting of advertising signs. It is best, however, that a painter acquaint himself with all phases of the trade before he decides to be a specialist. General painting probably affords the most favorable of working conditions. Since it includes both outdoor and indoor jobs, the general painter is not subject to the whims of the weather, but can change his work to meet climatic conditions. For him, there's no laying off with loss of pay because of rain. He just moves inside when the weather's bad. Nor is the painter's skill alone responsible for making our homes attractive to the eye. Wallpaper, in its many shades and patterns, contributes largely to the attractiveness of any room. This is a job requiring a great deal of dexterity and care. For here the workman not only must cut to exact sizes before applying, but he must also be able to match up and maintain a continuous pattern. If you should decide to become a painter or decorator, no doubt you'll wonder what your chances are for becoming successful. This is largely a matter of individual aptitude. Of course, a high school education backed by specialized training in a trade school is almost a prerequisite. But along with this acquired knowledge, certain natural endowments are necessary. First, you should have some artistic ability. That is, you should enjoy making things beautiful. You should have good eyesight and general good health. You should be able to endure the fumes of paint and varnish and be physically alert at all times. And lastly, you should have average intelligence and more than average patience. Since color forms the basis of the science of decoration, a great deal of stress is put upon its importance. Charts are used to demonstrate the theory of color harmony, and the apprentice has shown that the consonance of colors is as important to the eye as harmony of sound is to the ear. Then, when the student has acquired appreciation for this tonal value of colors, he is shown how to produce them. This takes a great deal of care and patience, for when adding one tint to another, a little bit often goes a long way. It is this appreciation of the importance of small things that often makes the difference between accomplishment and failure. There are certain ethics in the trade which should be learned early. An apprentice is judged by the work he does and by his attitude toward the job. His success is largely proportional to his reputation for honest workmanship and good materials. In the course of your specialized training, you will be expected to learn all parts of the trade. And here is where the basic education of the high school is necessary to a better understanding of the technical phases of the work. At the successful conclusion of his training period, the apprentice becomes a journeyman or fully qualified painter and decorator. Then, with more experience, he may become a specialist in some phase of the work. Each advancement requires a greater variety of training and skill, which eventually may lead to owning your own business. This calls for the ability to make estimates and bids, as well as direct the job and supervise other workers. Homeowners are becoming more and more paint and color conscious. They want up-to-date color schemes and are demanding good materials and superior workmanship. They want a man on whom they can rely, a man who can advise them on how to decorate their homes or business places. Often, the good, reliable painter is given full go ahead and use his own judgment as to color and harmony. This gives him a chance to express his own individuality. He can suggest new designs and color combinations, and this makes his work of increasing interest and satisfaction. If the opportunities of such work appeal to you, and you feel you can meet the responsibilities of the trade, perhaps painting and decorating may become your life's work.